Hello, my name's Saturn, and I am talking to you now about my DeafHouse podcast. The podcast is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, and I've been tipping away at it, just trying to line people up on through different mediums. It was a live active website there for the past. It's down a month. It's down a couple of months, but for the previous year or so or more, it was pretty active, and I had contributors from all around the world, mostly in California, here in BC, British Columbia, in Canada, and London and Dublin. And basically, all these people are still waiting to go full throttle at it, and the website's down, which doesn't help. I've just had one of the contributors that lives in LA contact me and ask what's going on, because she wants to go shoot a gig for the website, but can't because it's down. It's not a tall tale or anything. That's genuine. It was really weird timing. I'll probably screen the message and see if I can add it in later or somewhere. Contact her yourself or any of the contributors. They'll all tell you the hard work I've been putting in just to keep this thing up and going and keeping everybody on top of things. We basically cover alternative media, and the main aim is to try to get a 1-to-1 ratio with Irish talent. At the moment, I have the pilot episode of the podcast with Bink Beats. He is an incredible musician, loop artist, and human being all around. He invents his own instruments. He uses all sorts of different methods of madness for creating his live show, which is absolutely phenomenal. If you go check him out online, he started putting up his tutorials on how he does things. He reworked Ableton for anybody to his own devices. For anybody unaware of Ableton is this music software program that basically allows you to go absolutely bonkers once you figure the thing out, and this man has mastered it. Not sure how loud that was and for you guys, but basically he's mastered Ableton. He was the headline act at the Ableton Loop Summit over in LA last year. I had him over to Ireland to play a show. He's been touring all around the world, but he's on our pilot episode of the podcast, which you will get access to if you sign on to the Patreon. The money from the Patreon will go towards making this podcast happen more regularly, and also keeping the site alive so our contributors can go shoot their gigs. They're not being paid, but this allows them to go to the gigs and host their work, and also basically add to the independent and alternative music scene collectively all around the world. And like I said, my aim is to have a 1-to-1 Irish ratio of acts being exposed and reviewed and previews and all sorts of things on this site. There's a team of people back home willing to go at this, but yeah, we need your help. Make it happen. But I have some amazing people lined up. It's going to be a bi-weekly podcast. Outside of all the other contributors, I have all walks of life. It's not just musicians. Like example, I have Rufus Dayglow, who is the artist behind Tank Girl, and he's an unbelievable animator, drawer. Tank Girl, if you don't know it, go check it out. It's one of the best comics of all time. It was also turned into a film. It was originally done by the brain box behind Gorillaz, which I'm sure you all know if you don't know who Tank Girl is. So Jamie Hewlett designed Tank Girl originally, and Rufus has taken over for him. I've been internet friends with Rufus for a while, so I'm really looking forward to actually getting a good chat in with him. Who else? Octo Octa, a producer, trans producer, who's in the electronic scene, has played some shows in Dublin, just played a show there at possibly New Year's Eve night, I believe. She was the hitter there. She's a sweetheart, and definitely looking forward to sharing that podcast about all of the ongoings in her life. Who else have I got? Haggard Cat. These two bios fucking hit themselves in they built a concrete square and hid themselves in it for 24 hours and live streamed the whole thing all in the name of music. Their album drops this month. I've already heard it. It's an absolute banger. These two are nutters. We've done some. That was one of the first tours I did with their band Baby Godzilla, which then turned into Heck. They came off the back of the Enter Shikari tour. That was that was a riot. So there's going to be a lot of stories in there from all sorts of stuff. Who else? There's loads more. I'm not going to keep rambling on, because the whole point of this is to get talking to you guys. They're the international acts. I've got Irish people, members of Enemies, ex-members of Enemies in their new project Echo. Who else? I've got Dark Tracks, which is doing some of the most unusual electronic kind of sub-underground scene, and bringing over some of the best artists. He was booking actually Resident Advisors, RA's #1 act. He brought them over there, so that was awesome. So yeah, lots to talk about. There's just a few little inklings there to get into. I don't want to keep you waiting. Instead of listening to me rambling on, I think you should go check out the Patreon. Maybe the page is back up by then. Look at their previous articles. Check out the previous podcast where it all originated from. With Dave McGowan, who I also have a podcast with. He's in the band Bodies. They fucking killed it last year. They were about to come back with a whole new... Was it last year? They basically stormed the fucking Ireland there for a while, and they're off writing music. They're on their way back in. We had a podcast chat that ended up being 2.5 hours long, which is almost going to be divided into 2 podcasts. And he talks all about the Irish venues and the music scene back home, and the good and the bad and the ugly of it all. So yeah, do go check that out. Get on the Patreon, support it. That would be awesome. That'd be great. Turbo great, fucking minty deadly fresh, awesome. Go DeafHouse team podcast. Yeah.